In my video, My Favorite Hidden Paris Cafés, I showed you some cafes near major tourist attractions, which have become favorites of mine since a long-term illness led to me living part-time in Paris. Today I want to offer more of an insider's view of other Paris gems, slightly off the worn path, but in my opinion, well worth the trip. But first, let's begin the insider's tour by stopping by to see friends of mine who live in a lovely apartment near the Place de la Concorde, where my friend will point out some beautiful sights from his living room window.
Okay, we begin with the Louvre Museum, right there, and this huge building, which is the Palais d'Orsay, an old railway station, by the way, followed by this interesting two-spires church called Sainte Clotilde, and the Dome of the Invalid, gold-plated golden Invalid, where Napoleon's tomb is. Then you find the Parliament, right, with those columns, followed by the Eiffel Tower, as usual, and the obelisk. And finally, le Grand Palais.
After 19 years of living mostly housebound in Seattle due to an incurable illness, coming to Paris and exploring those hidden cafe gems can seem like a grand adventure. I treasure one of my favorite cafes because I find it enchanting and unique. Where else but in Paris would you find a cafe attached to a museum called le Musée de la Vie Romantique, or the Museum of the Romantic Life? The cafe and museum are tucked away off the street like a secret garden waiting to be discovered. To find it, you walk down a shaded cobblestone path which suddenly spills onto a bright and airy courtyard, framed by quaint houses and a garden. The house before you at one time belonged to Ari Scheffer, a painter and sculptor who was a member of the Romantic movement. If you meander into the garden, you'll see a few cafe tables and a 19th century greenhouse. Inside the greenhouse, you can buy pastries and tea or coffee, or savory tarts and salads for lunch. The cafe is only open, though, during months when it's warm enough to sit outside. The museum is free, so you can top off your afternoon by wandering through its exhibits. My next favorite cafe is the place I head to when I want to enjoy a good meal in a historic place steeped in grandeur and old-world charm. It's another cafe which is part of a museum called Musée Jacquemart-André, but it's on a much larger scale. Surprisingly, this cafe and tea salon seem to exist under the radar of Paris attractions, so much so that few of my French friends have actually eaten there. Open daily from lunch until 6 p.m., the cafe sits in the original stunning dining room of a 19th century Parisian home. The rest of the mansion houses a museum featuring the art collection of its original owners, Edouard André and his wife Nelly Jacquemart. Hours lingering in this sumptuous atmosphere can be had for the price of a cup of coffee and a pastry, or for a complete €17 lunch. Afterward, if you want to see how rich 19th century Parisians lived, you can buy a ticket and wander around the home. As for my next favorite cafe, Le Bouillante, you might walk past its cobblestone pedestrian-only street, just a few blocks off of the Seine River, and never know that it exists. To me, the cafe is only worth the trip if the day is warm enough, so that I can sit on the outdoor terrace opposite the church of Saint-Gervais. The other day I met a friend at Le Bouillante and was fascinated when his order of hot chocolate arrived in 2 parts. First, my friend was given a bowl with a small mound of what looked like chocolate pudding in the bottom of it. Then he took the accompanying pitcher of steamed milk and poured it into the bowl, all the while stirring everything together to make his hot chocolate. The only times that I haven't quite enjoyed the cafe occurred when a steady stream of tourists walked up and down the usually quiet cobblestone street, which can sometimes happen on weekends or during the month of August. But what I especially love about all of these cafes is that they offer very good food in settings which are equally delicious to the eye and for a modest price. If you'd like more detailed information on these cafes, go to the blog page of my website, annelipscomb.com, and look for the May 2012 post titled, More of My Favorite Hidden Paris Cafes.